All right, what's up, everybody? This was actually kind of unexpected, at least to the general audience, but I thought about doing this collab a while ago, and I finally decided to reach out. We went over a few topics, and today, me and Anime-Wrld have decided on a topic. So, real quick, you want to go ahead and say what's up before we get into it?
Hey, what's up on Anime-Wrld?
We're getting, man. This is a fun one. I haven't done Naruto in a minute on my channel, so this will be interesting. But this is a callback to younger years for both sides. We're gonna be doing Team Minato, which features Kakashi, and this will be Kid Kakashi with a Sharingan and served some time in the Anbu. And then we have Obito with Zetsu and one Sharingan after he just came back after being crushed. And then we have Ren. And on the other side, we will be featuring Sasuke, Final Valley, Naruto Final Valley, and Sakura. And we'll tell you guys who we think wins. So, right off the bat, I think the most interesting question to ask, and I'll let you start, is what do you think's the biggest factor here for either side?
Well, I mean, I feel like the biggest factor for either one of them is their final potentials, right? Because the course of this fight takes a drastic turn depending on if these individual characters are using their full potential or not. Like, for example, if Naruto is utilizing the full ability of the Nine Tails with the one cloak, and Sasuke is using his version 2 curse mark, that's going to significantly impact where this fight takes place, right? So if they're predominantly fighting from base to base, it's going to be much closer. But if you start like including these massive amps, some people like Kakashi and Rin are not going to be able to keep up. So I think those are the biggest factors determining this fight.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it makes most sense for people watching. The reason they're starting in base is we kind of consider it like, what if these squads randomly encountered each other? And it's just most likely they wouldn't be started off in their strongest forms. So I do agree. I think, and I'll get this out the way with my opinion, I think if they started out at their peak, Team Minato's in trouble. I don't think they hit as hard as Naruto transformed and Sasuke with the curse mark. That's where it gets risky. Now, I think, and we talked a little bit before we started, I think the most dangerous factor on Team Minato is Obito. I think if he's matched up with Naruto, he may try to just outright try to get the W without even seeing what Naruto brings to the table. I don't know what how do you see that interaction going?
Yeah, so if we're using the Obito with the one Sharingan after he gets his face crushed, that Obito, from what we've seen, he's kind of bloodlusted. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of trying to get revenge for Rin, and he kind of plows through all these hit and miss ninja, right? And these are all some very skilled ninja. And the thing with Naruto, right, is that he likes to fight with a ton of shadow clones. So if you're taking Obito when he has both of his eyes and the two Tomo, and you put that Naruto against, or that Obito against the Naruto we're talking about here, that Obito would probably get wiped, right? You get the floor wiped with him, right? But if you're taking this Obito, who now has his Mangekyo unlocked, although he hasn't really used it, he has the white Zetsu cells, he is bloodlusted, he has a significant amp in power, that's going to be kind of a shock to Naruto going into the fight, right? So if he can land some really early blows, he can do a lot of damage to Naruto. That's kind of how I see the fight starting out with Naruto and Obito.
I think what's also fun to consider is how would Naruto approach an Uchiha? More importantly, one he's never seen before, right? Like he knows about Itachi. He's seen Itachi. He knows about Sasuke. But at that point, it's like, okay, he doesn't, to his knowledge, there's no other factors. And I think this would freak him out to the point that he'd probably be more willing to go big guns faster. Yeah, it's kind of like after they saw Rock Lee nearly kill Sasuke the first time they ran with him, they never would have played with him again. And I think Naruto's experience with the Uchiha clan would give him a better chance, only because he's gonna understand, no matter what, it's most likely this is an elite fighter.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. The thing with Obito, right, is that even at this point in time, he doesn't have what's the word? His most destructive jutsu seems to be some of the wood style that he acquires after he gets the white Zetsu cells, and his fire style, which he already has previously showcased. Right, you're comparing that versus Naruto's very concentrated, very powerful Rasengan, which surpasses even that of the Chidori. Right, so if like you said, Naruto's kind of going into this being like, oh hey, I'm about to fight an Uchiha, this guy's the real deal. I kind of see Naruto more quickly utilizing some of his more powerful abilities, such as using the Nine Tails power, using the Nine Tails cloak. And that would kind of even it out a little bit, because I think just base to base, this Obito would probably surpass this Naruto, especially considering the fact that he has a Mangekyo Sharingan, even though he hasn't really utilized it at this point. He does have it. But if Naruto does end up entering his one tail state, considering this is the Valley of the End, Naruto is able to compete with the Sasuke version 2. I think Naruto might be able to come out on top when they're both utilizing their full power.
This would be... I think this would be a dope fight to actually see occur. We've actually seen Naruto handles bloodlusted really well. I mean, Kid Gar was about as bloodlusted as it gets. So he's not going to shy away from someone trying to tear his neck out. It'd be interesting to see what would happen if he summoned Gamma
Bunta.
Yeah. How bad does it get for Team Minato if the big frog comes in?
I think it gets pretty bad because, using Gamma Bunta, Naruto was able to compete with another Jinchuriki, Gaara, in his transformed state. And although if you look at the anime, he and Gamma Bunta transform into the Nine Tails, but it's not really the Nine Tails. It's just visual interpretation. I mean, they transform into it, but it's not actually the Nine Tails' full power. It's more Naruto and Gamma Bunta separately. But I don't know. I think that Team Minato would be kind of screwed, because this whole conversation was just them separately using their own full powers, and now you're introducing another very, very powerful opponent into the mix, Gamma Bunta, who is just like a third factor that might just kind of stand out. So I feel like it'd be more fair if we didn't include him. But if we did include him, I think that Team Minato would kind of be screwed.
I think what's interesting is we didn't even discuss it. I didn't think about it. But I realized during this conversation that it's a little better of a chance that would occur if they start off in base. But I think the way Obito fights, and especially bloodlusted, it wouldn't give Naruto time to summon. I don't think he would think to summon for help. I think he would just he'd just lose it because he'd be pressured. I actually think the fighting style of Obito would lead to most likely us just seeing Kurama come into play. So I do think Obito's quick. He does have decent speed. Who do you think's faster? Cloaked Naruto or
the Obito with the Sharingan?
Yeah.
The thing is that the thing with Obito is that at this point in time, right, this is before the assault on Konoha, before he has this scuffle with Minato, right? Before then, he doesn't really have any super speed feats that we can quantify, right? He does blitz all those mist ninja. He is able to scuffle with Kakashi before when he has his Tutomo Sharingan, or like when they're kids. But we don't see any insane speed feats that we can kind of quantify. Unlike Naruto, which we've kind of seen back and forth, you know what I mean? For example, during the time where he and Sasuke were trapped in Haku's ice mirrors, Sasuke is able to see Haku's jutsus with the Sharingan, but he's not able to react, while Naruto is able to react with the influence of the Kyuubi. We do see speed feats for Naruto. We don't really see that many for Obito. So I would assume that Naruto would be faster because of what we see. And that's honestly earlier part one. That's not even considering the Valley of the End, which is much later on in the franchise when they get much faster, much stronger. I would assume that Naruto would be a little bit faster, but again, it's kind of hard to quantify. So it is but it's possible that Obito is faster, but I would probably give it to Naruto just because of the sheer amount of feats that we see him utilize for speed.
Yeah, I completely agree. Actually, I think like if I had to summarize, it'd be like who's the safer bet? Probably Naruto. Especially considering we know like Rock Lee in the Chunin exams forced adult Kakashi to use his Sharingan to watch him fight.
Yeah.
So they're stupidly fast at that point too. Probably actually a little faster than I considered before we started recording. But while I do think the fight would be awesome to see, I do think Naruto's a little safer to bet on. If this particular Obito ran into Naruto, although I do think it'd be a good fight.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we probably favor, and you made a good point before, and this kind of is the icing on the cake for it. Naruto's range and clone work is going to be too much. Like, Obito will be a better fighter up close. We're pretty confident on that. But yeah, at the same time, the clones and Rasengan, if that hits Obito, he's going to be hurting.
Yeah, he has nothing really to counter that. You know what I mean? Because when Sasuke fights against Naruto, he has the Chidori, which although it's a little bit weaker and it's been shown to be a little bit weaker, towards the end, like the Valley of the End, they seem to be pretty evenly matched, and that's how he counters the Rasengan. Obito in this case doesn't have any super destructive compressed ability that will be able to counteract the Rasengan. So he's gonna have to kind of fight around that. You know what I mean? That stacked with all these shadow clones, I don't really think that Obito would win this fight in particular.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great fight, but we got Naruto taking it. Moving on, let's look at real quick, how would Sasuke Kakashi go?
See, this one's a little bit more interesting, I feel like, because they both utilize similar abilities, like the Chidori, for example, and since they're both starting in base, even base Kakashi still starts with a Sharingan because he can't really turn it off. Right, so starting off their fight, I think I would assume that Sasuke would see Kakashi's Sharingan and utilize his own Sharingan. Probably not the curse mark, but he would use the Sharingan. And we would see an initial hand-to-hand scuffle. And considering how advanced that Kid Kakashi is and the fact that he was already a Jonin, I think in physical combat, maybe Kakashi might be able to take the edge. I don't think he's faster, though. I do think Sasuke is quite a bit faster due to the fact that he was able to scale to a Rock Lee without weights, and that's not even the end of part one. He was able to scale with a Rock Lee without weights. So I think he is faster, but I think that Kakashi's more skilled. So initially, starting off the fight, I do see kind of Kakashi taking the edge on hand-to-hand combat, but once the fight starts picking up and they both start showing their speed and their strength, I think Sasuke might do a little bit of outspeeding Kakashi. What do you think?
Yeah, I think what's funny about this one to me, first thing that comes to mind is like this might actually be worse psychologically than Naruto's impact seeing Obito, because Sasuke's gonna see this little kid with a Sharingan and be like, yo, who are you? He's not gonna know if, Itachi's trolling to some horrible degree. That might drive... Sasuke was not in the best mental state. So, seeing that might be an issue.
They make him bloodlusted right off the bat.
Yeah, and I don't think Kid Kakashi has what it takes to handle bloodlusted Sasuke. Like, bloodlusted part when Sasuke was crazy. And that demonic form, look and see him too. Like, just the look alone might be a little off-putting for Kakashi. Like, Kid Kakashi wasn't, he is a dope character, one of my favorites, but, like, even in part one of Naruto, he still could get pretty intimidated. Like, Orochimaru almost made him wet himself. So seeing, like, CM2 Sasuke just start flying, and I don't know. I don't see Kakashi really having much for that version of Sasuke. And base to base, I think that's definitely Kakashi's best chance. But instinct's gonna kick in if he gets pressured too hard by base Kakashi, even if he didn't react crazy. And that's when we see the curse mark. I think that's too much for Kid Kakashi.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I didn't even include the curse mark. Like, I think that Kakashi is probably due to the fact that he was promoted so early and he was seen like as a prodigy. He's probably a more skilled fighter, but that doesn't take away the fact that he's more likely slower and weaker. The gap becomes more increasingly large as you start introducing more and more abilities and jutsus and transformations. Like for example, base to base might be the closest bet that they have. Once you include Sasuke's perfected Sharingan, then you might start seeing some Chidoris, right? And you know that Sasuke's Chidori, he is able to use it only twice initially during the time of the tuning exams, but again, later on he becomes more powerful and he's able to use it more with the curse mark. And Kakashi, this kid Kakashi, also is able to utilize the Chidori, but you know that this is somewhat of an imperfected jutsu at this point, right? He's just now starting to master it, whereas Sasuke was already taught by a Kakashi who has mastered the Chidori, right? So he knows what a perfected Chidori looks like, while this Kakashi is still kind of in the process of learning, right? And then if you include like the curse mark, right? So Sasuke is already faster than Kakashi due to the Lee scaling, and then you introduce the curse mark in the curse mark version 2. That just amplifies all of his abilities to the point where he's on par with a cubic cloaked Naruto. I don't think that Kakashi, especially Kid Kakashi, is quite on this level yet.
Nah, yeah, I agree. I think a funny analogy would be like this match. These two matchups we just talked about would be like if the NBA, like the white boys from back in the early 1900s that smoked cigars at halftime, if they played LeBron right now, it'd be terrible. Like the next generation Sasuke and Naruto just had so much more raw power. Like an inverse comparison that's kind of easy to note is we saw literally for memes, Base Might Guy and Kakashi were team wipers, like squad wipers, and when the Sound invaded. And
yeah.
And the crazy fight going on at the time was literally outside of that. It was with Kid Naruto. So like that team squad wiping was a big deal for Obito. That was big for his character to show like the growth and power and stuff, as well for Kakashi. And at that point, that's not impressive at all to Kid Naruto and Kid Sasuke.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, drop them in. I would just ask you to drop them in that situation with the stone goons. Like, what do you That's horrible.
Oh,
It's murder. Like,
I don't think Sasuke would lose his eye in that scenario.
yeah, no, that goes south for the other guys real fast. So, what's perhaps the most interesting one, I think it's interesting at least, in our final battle, Rin versus Sakura. Part 1 Sakura sucks, but Rin didn't do anything. So it's like, what do you trust more? Me, I thought when we discussed it, Rin has interesting narrative implications that at least like merits a discussion, but she doesn't have anything safe. We saw her react to Kid Kakashi when he was using Chidori or Raikiri. Was it Raikiri at that time? Technically,
I think it was Chidori.
Okay, yeah. So Chidori at the time, and she reacted to it. Cool, but it's not a fight. And Kid Kakashi, it is worth noting, had really bad tunnel vision when he was using that move. So he's not going to probably see her coming that well. But still, decent speed feat. She, of course, has great potential because she has the potential to store the chakra of a Kyuubi, which is crazy. She has a very good healing feat. She's a very talented healer. She did the surgery with Obito's eye. So she has like really cool narrative, but what if Sakura bites her?
Yeah, right? Yeah, she has no counter to that. The thing with Rin and Sakura is that they're both pretty bad, but like the question is who's less garbage, right? So I don't know. I would put my bet on Sakura mainly because we see Sakura actually do stuff, right? Even though she's pretty bad, she actually has feats, right? She's been there from the time that we've seen Naruto and Sasuke. She is also a healer, much like Rin is. She's able to heal. She's the healer of the team. We do see her fight against Ino during the tuning exams and even knocks her out, although she also gets knocked out in the process. She is able to fight with these powerful Fulgenin, and I would assume that Ino is probably more stronger than Rin due to to her unique mind transfer abilities. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just it's more of like the lack of what we see of Rin, right? We do know that Sakura is very, very, very intelligent. They're both genjutsu perceptive, but we don't really see too much of Rin, right? Her best feat is getting stabbed through the heart by Kakashi. So I can't give this to Rin without knowing what else she's capable of, right? She doesn't have any physically harming jutsus that we see her utilize. We don't see any super fast speed feats that she utilizes. There's really nothing for her. So I would definitely have to give this one to Sakura. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a fun discussion, especially if you're like someone that loves talking about lore and implications, which is always dope. But it's not like it's safer to go with Sakura. She'll probably swing first. We do know that Rin has like incredible conviction. Like she literally killed herself for the squad. So we do know she's down to take the L, but we don't know if she can get you the W. That's our problem.
Right.
And for anyone struggling on this one, like you can rest easy knowing this battle doesn't matter. Yeah. Because it matters. The other two are what matters. Whoever walks away from that is securing the victory for the team overall. So
yeah, at the end of the day, even if Rin did win, like she's not gonna take out Naruto or Sasuke. That's just not gonna happen. So
yeah, she would need like the greatest plot armor to pull off a healing.
Yeah, she would be the Three Tails.
Yeah, she better hope Obito comes back using his Mangekyo or something like. I don't know. It'd be yeah. I just. It's a fun battle, especially when they start base to base. But I don't see Team Minato pulling this one off. I got Team Kakashi.
Yeah, unfortunately, as much as I love Team Minato, I don't think that they would really do too much. Again, base to base, it would be very interesting to see. I would love to see that animated and to see what it would actually look like and how it actually would go down. But at the end of the day, you know, as they both start introducing more of their abilities, they start going all out. It's gonna come down to Naruto and Sasuke winning these fights. You know.
Yeah. So in the end, we have Team Kakashi taking it. And now we did talk about this before the video. It wasn't even worth talking about in video. If we included the senseis, Minato squad wipes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, those kids take a horrible L.
That's not even fair, but yeah.
Yeah, but anyways.
Drastic turn.
Yeah, dude. Big shout out to Anime-Wrld for coming on the channel. I think I'll be going over to his soon. We haven't figured out a topic or anything, but I had a blast doing this one. He's definitely, if y'all want quality Naruto scaling and content and explanations, go to his channel. That's where I go for mine. So yeah, you got anything to say before we wrap it up?
No, not much. I appreciate it. Definitely stay tuned. We're definitely going to do some more collabs in the future, so just be on the lookout for that. I'll see you.
All right, peace.